a picture of him for a second.
Oh,
There he
there
is.
we are.
Sean, you there?
What just happened?
There it is.
Hey.
You're not
Can you
running
hear
any
me,
backup programs, are you?
I don't know. Like, I switched my audio, and all of a sudden the computer just went boom. It's done.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And like, I've made sure my batteries are backed up and fully charged, and AirPods are charged, and everything. I don't know what happened.
Hey, Philip. Welcome, Philip.
All right.
All
Looks
right,
like
Philip. Can you hear us? Okay,
we can hear you. We can hear
Yep.
you. All right.
Okay.
Whew. Shake that off. Okay.
All's good.
All is good. That's right. Here we go. Let me just set this up.
Hey, can we just state for those who don't know us that our background and green screen replacement is a lot better than your background replacement. We just wanted you to know that.
Yes, I'm not using our technology. I'm using what's built into Zoom.
Just was saying.
They do have a feature that if you bring in a green screen background, that it's supposed to improve the knockout process. So I did have a mind to set up a green screen in my bedroom here so that we could do this, but decided it wasn't worth it. All right.
It's doing well.
Well, good. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, if that's all right.
How many we have, Sean?
Great question. Looks like there's about 8 of us right now.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So, hey guys, first of all, if I haven't already introduced myself, I'm Sean Cantrell, and I'm the lead of our school and sports program over at H&H Color Lab. And if you're here and you're curious about who H&H is, let me just take a moment to introduce us. Well, let me do it this way, actually. Are you a sports photographer that, like others, is struggling to grow your business? And are you frustrated because you feel like you're alone in this journey? Well, then I want to say that you're welcome. Come to H&H Color Lab. Your search is over, because we've spent the last 50 years helping independent photographers next level their business. We've gotten to where we are by listening to photographers who rely on us while working in the trenches with them. And we learn and adapt strategies from market leaders, and we try to combine best practices and systems to help you elevate your sports game. I want to say we invest in training programs like Sync Sports, and also like a couple that are coming up, HH Sports Boot Camp and Schools 101. We do this to help educate independent photographers. What we're wanting to do is we want to help you grow and compete with those large national companies.
Amen.
So whether you're an established sports photographer or an aspiring one, we hope that you can finally find a partner that will save you time and increase your sales with H&H Color Lab. So Terry, is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, my only addition is that there's probably some self-centered to that as well. It's just really easy. When we have found that we have been a tool or a network to gain additional education or savviness in the marketplace for our customers, and they grow, it's just real simple. We grow. So it is in our best interest to empower you to be as strong and effective in your marketplace so that we can grow together. So please take advantage of the resources we bring to the table.
Yeah. Thank you, Terry. So today I'm joined by our featured Sync Sports speaker. I have a hard time saying that for some reason. Sync Sports speaker, Jason Williams. Now, Jason actually is talking right after this, so you haven't heard from him yet. So after today's program, after the trade show, run to the restroom real quick because we'll all have to go to the bathroom. I get it. But then head over to Jason Williams' program so you can check that out. You're actually in for a treat because he was going to do this presentation last year, but some things came up and wasn't able to come as he was hoping to. So Darty said, I want you here. I want you to share this, and he's going to get to share that with us right after this. So check that out. Also, I invited. I invited a very special guest, Jeff Edwards. So, guys, thank you both for joining me.
My pleasure.
So let's get into this. So businesses across the country are finding ways to open back up with contactless services and delivery. Right, we're seeing it in barbershops, we're seeing it in restaurants, and even in the photography industry. And if it hasn't already happened in your area, it soon will. Right. But being open doesn't mean you're going to have parents beating down your door with handfuls of cash saying, "Take pictures of my children right now." It's just not going to happen. But I do want to take a moment and be really clear here. I'm not saying that you should have to make the hard choice between increasing or risking virus spread and losing sales with bad business practices. Now, I invited both you guys, Jason and Jeff, here because I respect both of you and the volume school businesses that each of you have built. And I've asked you both to join me because I want to know, and I want you to tell everyone else here how you plan on putting money in your pocket this fall while still at the same time helping your customers feel safe on picture day. But before we get into that, I just do have a couple of announcements. First of all, is one of the things that we miss the most about not being in Pennsylvania and having Sync Sports Live is the trade show floor. And not just because it's an opportunity for us to talk about H&H. That's not really it. Really, we miss the opportunity to connect with the photographers that are there.
True.
In the trade show booths, I love watching all of y'all come by, walk by. Some of them will stop in and have a conversation. And whether it's catching up with old friends or making new ones, it always seems to be a good time. So we've asked Terry to be here. He's only got a short time. But if you do want to pop in and have a one-on-one conversation with Terry, just let us know, and we will open up the breakout room and invite you all in there so that you can have a conversation with Terry. To do that, just type in, "Can I talk with Terry?" into your chat window, and our team will admit you into that. And then when you're done, you can leave that room and come on back to the main discussion.
And may I say, Sean, if that's not the opportune time, they can reach me at Terry T at hhcolorlab.com, and we can schedule a time to chat at their convenience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. So let's get into the actual interview here. I'm going to start off with a couple of warm-up questions, guys. Jeff, for those of us that have not had the pleasure of having a conversation with you, can you just share what's your background in volume photography?
So I've been in the school business for going on 42 years now. I started with a contract senior studio in town here, started my own contract senior studio, developed that into 2 studios in our own color lab. Did that for 15 years, sold the businesses and the lab, primarily because of the digital revolution. Didn't want to recapitalize the lab. And then for a period of time, I worked for one of the big vertical companies, Interstate Studio. I was their national sales manager, and also worked for Jostens and consulted for Herb Jones for a period of time. Jostens sold and closed the photo division. And at that point, I needed to do something. So I went back to doing what I know. And that was building a volume school picture company in '03. So we started in 2003 with no schools. And this last fall, we photographed 130 schools. So
Wow.
That's my background.
I will tell you this, folks. I've known Jeff Edwards for a long time. In my humble opinion, nobody runs a better underclass business than Jeff. And he knows his business and is very, very good at it. So, thanks, sorry.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Terry. I would agree. So Jason, I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about this when your program starts up, but why did you decide to create icon photography?
I went to, just to give you a little backstory, I actually went and visited Bridget Harmon out in Indiana 6-7 years ago. And I think she was pregnant with her son and needed help. Like she was just at that point where she was about due and she needed some help. And I said, well, I'll fly out to help and then I'll kind of see what you do. And I decided definitively after that trip, I did not want to do school photography. Absolutely not. And then I came, I kind of came full circle. We just had so many people in our community saying the industry is terrible, for lack of a better word. Just there's nothing that's good in the industry. And the more we thought about it, the more we thought, okay, this might be something that we would like to move into. So I took another trip out to Illinois and kind of hung out there with some friends, and decided that we were gonna give it a run about 3 years ago. And so we launched. This is our third full season is this year. So that's kind of the backstory. It just saw a need, decided to give it a run, and I've actually loved it. It's been a lot more fun than what I anticipated.
Very cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, this could be an awkward question, but I think it's a truthful one that I'd like to at least share some light. Because currently, Jason and Jeff, we do have the honor and pleasure of printing for you all, but that wasn't always the case. I know you all have had histories prior to our relationships, and so I'd like to share a little bit of that with the folks that are here with us on why you decided to join the community over at H&H. So, Jason, I'm gonna throw one at you, man. Fastball, here it comes. Did you ever look at other companies besides H&H?
Yep. Actually, we started our first year out. We started with a small company. Not going to name who that was, but it was some friends in the industry that had a lot of experience, and they did their own printing. They did a few things actually through H&H, but we decided to go with them at their invitation and partnered with them. And these folks are running a really solid business. They're doing great for themselves. They were not prepared to take on someone new. And I knew there were going to be some bumps and bruises along the ways of jumping in with a company who hadn't done it before, but they well exceeded the bumps and bruises we anticipated. So after a year of going through that, and really, I mean, it almost sank us our first year out, because we exploded our first year. I think we were photographing, it was pushing 8,000 kids, I think 8,000 heads in about 10 schools first year out. And having that level of going from 0 to 100, for me, that was a big deal. That was a lot. And they lacked, and you'll hear this in my presentation coming up, they just lacked the experience necessary. And so when we got to do it again, we were looking for somebody who had a lot of experience in the volume industry, and who had a lot of written documentation that we could take and implement, rather than us kind of winging it. H&H fit the bill. I had met you guys, on trade shows at Sync and Sync Sports. I kind of knew some of the people that were involved with H&H, liked the people, talked to you guys, and you guys provided us an incredible amount of hand-holding through our first year with you. And so that's why we went with you, is because you guys provided that and resourced us very well. So that was the difference between the two choices.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate your honesty there. Jeff, man, you could write a memoir novel with your knowledge in the school photography industry. And honestly, I would love to read that if you ever decide to do that after you retire. But when you decided to come to H&H, what made you choose us?
Well, I looked at H&H back in 2003 when I was looking at, with no business and needing to have somebody to lab my work if I got business. Who would my lab partner be? Because, the school photo and sports photo business is unique. We start manufacturing in the field. So what we do in the field is going to carry into the lab, carry through to production. And knowing what I know coming out of a vertically integrated company, I started making calls to a number of labs just to find out what they had available. And quite honestly, I mean, I called some rather large labs and had some questions, and they couldn't answer the questions, which made me nervous. I mean, if you don't know what a service item is, or you don't know what a service strip is, or you don't know how you're going to deal with composites, that was not the company for me to do business with. Now, fortunately, skip forward to today, and a lot of those companies have grown up, but back then, it was a little scary. And then on top of it, to be honest with you, the level of customer service, or the level of people that you could actually talk to, was very negligible. And so I had found H&H through a referral. I called, I spoke to Terry, we had a conversation. I think the single, well, multiple things that keep me there, because being an independent, we have the luxury of being able to take our work wherever they want, or wherever we want. The reality is the lab has got outstanding customer service. They listen to voice of customer, which really, to me, makes them different. And that was one of the things that got me to start looking at seriously working with H&H. Their quality has been excellent, bar none. The program that they have, they don't just compare themselves to other labs. They compare themselves to the vertically integrated companies, who are really the people we have to compete with as independents in the school picture business. So there are just so many reasons. And then when you circle back around and look at the pricing, labs are really within, if you really look at it, they're within a nickel or a dime of each other on units. And I always believed in you get what you pay for. So it's been great quality, great service, great response time. They have great relationships with their customers, and they have everything that I need to compete. And that's why I started with H&H, and I continue to be there today.
Well, we sure are grateful for that opportunity,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Thank you.
We really are. All right, let's get into this. We want to talk about contactless picture day. Jason, coming back at you, man. Do you have a contactless picture day? Plan?
Yeah.
Sorry, a plan.
Yeah, we got a plan. We're not going to touch people. There you go.
Okay.
And done.
Can you expand on that a little?
I can. We had actually, it's interesting. I heard a story, and I cannot think of who it was, but it was actually a male photographer that worked for a female-owned school portrait company was accused of touching a kid inappropriately. It was a false accusation. It was disproven by video. But this was maybe a year and a half ago. My team and I sat down and we started talking about a contactless picture day then. Just because of the concerns, and we added like a GoPro to one of our stands that films everything that we do, just kind of like protecting ourselves in advance. So we had already talked about a level of this prior to it becoming really popular, I guess we could say, to not touch the kids. So we have had, I've actually already photographed, we have 3 jobs on the books. One we just finished, we did cap and gown. Cap and gown is particularly difficult to do contactless because of the stupid tassel. That thing will give you nightmares trying to get the kid. Nope, turn it no, slightly right. No, your other right. Like that's the conversations I'm having with these graduates.
Yeah.
But really, we're pretty well set at this point to have contactless, and we've got mirrors that are accompanying our team now, so that we can hold it up when needed and say, nope, that tassel needs to go left or right. Can you fix that piece of hair? Pull that collar up. And we're doing the same thing on the portrait side with our seniors. I do have a mom that's in place, or a dad that's in place on our seniors, but we're just doing a lot more vocal instruction. The scanning system that H&H has, we're planning on just switching to gloves to do the handout and the receipt of that piece of paper, because we're scanning everything in on site. But really, it's going to be instructive, and our team's going to have on gloves. We do not plan on wearing masks, just because we're not going to be that close to the kids to start with, and doing the mirrors as our kind of like, in case of emergency, this is what I'm talking about. The one thing that we haven't quite figured out yet is the little ones, exactly how we're going to operate with them. And with them, it may be a thing where we're just going through a lot of pairs of gloves, and helping them out with some of the details. But our schools are going to have something to do with that as well. Our first school did 10-minute increments for their graduates. That's a whole new level of volume photography right there. Every 10 minutes, a graduate came in. Our first 2 sales just rolled through on that. They were $200 a piece. So while it was a very slow pace, we also thought that the value was going to go up. And so even though it was contactless, AKA very slow, it also provided some new opportunities for the value of what we were doing. Our next school is doing families and graduates. They're actually going through the high school and getting their diploma. And then they come to us in 5-minute increments with their families. We're setting up a large backdrop and photographing different family groups. But again, no touch. It's probably going to mean some hair is going to be out of place. Some collars are going to be shifted, and we're not going to be able to have the same level of attention to detail. But very doable. This isn't even that big of a curveball to me. It just means we don't have to touch the kids, which also means it lowers the responsibility. And when somebody comes back and says, why didn't you shift my kid's tie 1/16 of an inch to the left? We can go Corona. So help us out in that regard.
Wow, you thought a lot through that. I love the concept of the mirror. I think that's brilliant, and I don't know why that's maybe I just haven't heard of it before, but I don't know why that's already implemented prior to this event. I think having that mirror is a great idea. Great idea.
We actually had
Jeff?
small mirrors prior to this. We had little ones that went in our kit. We are shifting to a Walmart. I think it's $7 for the Walmart full length. That's the one that we're actually going to take with us to the jobs starting this fall.
Okay. Right on. Jeff, pass this over to you. What does a contactless picture day mean to you when you hear those words?
It's always meant hands off for us. We never, ever will touch a student. Just the legal liability aspect of it is just too great in today's society. But what contactless picture day means for me is an entire end-to-end process from the sales end through the distribution of flyers and paperwork that has to be done for picture day, to photography, to portrait distribution, and having a well-documented process that takes into account social distancing for photography day, as well as, bringing the kids down, lining up photographers, and then being able to express that plan to school administrators to give them the confidence to do picture day this fall. The reality is that schools don't need what we provide unless it's ID cards and images for their information systems. So what I'm about giving the school information about how we can provide the products that they need for security and safety, and do that this fall so that we can go back to work this fall. But if we don't express something to an administrator that makes them feel confident that we can conduct school photography in a safer way, they may not choose to do photos this fall. And that's what contactless picture day is about to me. So, Sean, we did a webinar for the lab, where I went into great detail about the entire process end to end. And it's pretty comprehensive. And the other thing that I'm looking to eliminate is any potential, litigation out of my kid got COVID from your staff. So that's what we're looking to do, is to develop a process to keep all of those things in check as we go forward.
Yeah, I really appreciate that program that you did put on. If you are a customer of H Nation, part of our HH Schools users group, Facebook group, you'd done a presentation in there, and that was fantastic. The amount of detail that you had shared on not just here's some concepts to think of, but these are the tools that we're going to use to make this plan a reality. But knowing that there's still some things that we need to think through, some other, what are best practices in general beyond just what's best practices for this fall that you're employing. So I really love how you laid that out. So let me dive into this a little bit deeper here, Jeff. How much can you really reduce the need for touch? I mean, Are we talking major reduction, or total elimination of touching altogether?
Is that for me, Sean, or for Jeff?
I was going to ask Jeff that question.
Okay.
I think we can achieve a pretty high level of touch reduction. I mean, the easiest one, frankly, are the photographers, because with our setups, they're set to work at 10 feet away from subjects anyways. So that's meeting the social distancing guidelines, so they don't have to wear a mask. We've never touched students. We've always learned to direct, with head gestures, hand gestures, and we've always had parents in the school that have made any clothing adjustments that are necessary, again, to eliminate the potential of the touching issues that can pop up. We're finding more and more schools are wanting us to send them flyers electronically with PDF links to our prepay website. So I think that, depending upon the socioeconomics of the school, and a lot of this is going to be determined by what the school wants. We're just saying, hey, we can go to this level if we have to. I think we can eliminate picture day flyers, to be honest with you, by sending out a PDF flyer with a link in it, and having the prepay sales go through HH Image Host. What I don't want to do is I don't want to destroy my prepay sale in schools. So I need to be careful of that. As far as the photographers go with HH schools, we can use time sync match and actually reports instead of camera cards from within the software, so we can eliminate the need of handling paper back and forth in the school. And then, the beauty part about the way H&H's software works with the online prepay sales, all that can link together. So again, we can get the touching down to a minimal amount, all the way to, if the school wants us to, we'll direct mail packages to the home, so they don't have to worry about handing those back out in the school itself.
That sounds like a very thought out program. I appreciate that. Jason, when we're talking to schools about a contactless picture day, it's going to take some work to kind of communicate and cast that vision, right? So we're going to have to paint some pictures for them. We're going to have to lay out some details for them. So how, when you're talking to schools about possibly running a contactless picture day this fall, what are some things that you're telling them on how does a contactless picture day benefit the school?
We have kind of, from the get-go, I have a tiny fraction of experience in this versus what Jeff has. And so we kind of came at this just out of a whole different perspective. So when we started, we kind of came into the schools, and our objective was to have the schools have as little to do with photo day as possible. Mm-hmm. And so contrary to popular, I guess, advice and experience, we've gone completely the other direction and said, matter of fact, this year is our year of full implementation. There are no prepay. There's nothing happens in advance outside of marketing is going out. Everything for us is going to be proof-based. And we're hoping to go full digital proof this year. So we've kind of maintained this whole, we don't want them to have anything to do with picture day because they're educators. We wanted to be focused on education. We want to handle all the photo stuff as much as possible ourselves. So this is a natural segue for my company in kind of the direction we were already going. So the kids this year are gonna I'm gonna back up to what Jeff said. We've been working on that no touch policy earlier. We had already had, this is a little on the sexist side, so hang with me. I had a full female staff posing and positioning kids. And that's as a guy. I just did not want the liability that came with that. And then we had conversations over the last year of going completely no touch and communicating that to our team. If something needed to be fixed, either a teacher needed to do it. And so we were really close to being on Jeff's level with that already. So this year it's going to be a natural segue to just go, COVID has given us that extra push to just go, yeah, we can't do that. The liability has gotten to the point now. Jeff's liability, I think, comment was more on just people accusing your staff of touching inappropriately or making a wrong move. Now it becomes an issue of medical issues. So it's an easy excuse for, I think, all of us to do what is safer for our businesses anyway. So I think that's going to make a nice transition for us. So I think it's going to be beneficial to the school because they won't have to ever handle an accusation. That's a huge benefit. It's going to benefit them because we can take all of this out of their hands. They're just going to send the kids through, and then their responsibilities are done. We have also moved to a ship to home prior to. So we have already implemented that over the last year. Everything is going ship to home this year. And we've had to do a little price bump to accommodate that. We're doing a 2-week free ship where I'm eating the shipping over X amount of dollars. And then after that, everybody pays the shipping. So I understand that some of the methods that we're doing mean lower profit margins up front. We get that. But it also makes us a more scalable company. And I think for all of us looking at this, the contactless and no touch really makes everything more scalable, in my opinion. And scalability is something is really important to me as a smaller company. We're doing right about 10,000 heads right now. And so it's not a big organization. What I do now positions me for tomorrow and determines whether I'm scalable or not. And so the contactless thing is going to lead towards that. So hopefully I answered your question there.
Excellent point.
Yeah. Jeff, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I just, without getting into too much of the minutia of the actual workflow, everybody's business model is different. So some people are on a proof business model. I've got 22 employees. I want to be and need to be on a prepay model because I just don't have the wherewithal to pay 22 people and shoot a bunch of images and put them up and hope people come there and buy. If you can and your model is built around that, great. I think some people still have some selling to do to me. I know, there are certain companies out there that are saying, hey, photograph everybody, do the shoot and share. And, we're hearing anecdotally on the web and on Facebook that my per order average is up. And that's probably true. The problem is the numbers of buyers are going down. And that's not really is what you want to have in volume business. In volume business, I'd rather get $10 from each kid than $50 from 3 kids. And so that's just the way my business model is wired. So what I'm looking to do is to shift from a prepay in envelope model to a prepay online model with, second sale options and other options available. But I'm trying to preserve my revenue on the front end in order to work for my business. And again, that's just me. I think we can get there. I think this is going to allow us the opportunity to do it. I think it's going to come. The schools are going to see the benefit of it. So I think it's going to happen. The question is do we go there and stay there, or do we go there and then come back when things get back to whatever the new normal is, as people like to say. So.
Interesting.
Jeff, I'm sure you'll be watching your numbers intensely when it comes to participation with the removal of that flyer. So we sure love to hear how that goes.
You bet. And again, we're not going to remove the flyer. We're going to remove the paper version of it.
Right.
But the school will either give us emails or they will email a PDF of the flyer that has a built-in link to the prepay ordering site. So the parents will still get a flyer. It's just a question of, it's not going to be a piece of paper anymore. It's going to be a mail home or an email home digital version of it.
Well, how does that affect your cash buyer? Will they still be able to buy cash?
We'll have some mechanism. We'll have to have envelopes of some kind for people that still want to pay cash, because there will be those people. So we're going to have a mechanism to collect that. We just, right now on flyers, we run 120% of enrollment on prepay flyers. We may not need to run that many. It'll be a changeover year for us. We'll see how it goes.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. we'll
Yes,
see
sir.
what happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think as things continue to change, this fall really is just going to be what is the best laid plans of today. Knowing that we're going to have a plan, we're going to try and execute it, but there's probably going to be some things we're going to need to adjust along the way, as the environment continues to adjust along the way.
I guess the one other thing I'll go back to is ship to home. We've done ship to home on and off. What we found is that in schools that we've done it at, many of them have asked us to leave that because the secretary, I mean, let's face reality. The secretaries, no matter what you put on your packaging, the schools get the call about the students that do or don't get product. And when we got into a mail environment before, the secretaries got more calls because some people got their pictures earlier than others. So it started triggering numerous phone calls to the school. And then if the school had some transient population, then you had problems with stuff that didn't get delivered and stuff that got damaged. So we had a number of customers that we've done ship to home before that have asked to come off of it. Now, in this environment, it may change and we go back to ship to home. So it again, stay tuned. It just depends upon how things play out.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit on how it benefits the school, and we already, I think, already broached in this question, but I just want to ask it plainly. For those of us that are in this conversation right now, I see that everyone's in here and appreciate your chat and your comments. So keep asking those questions. But for those of us who are here that have not thought through the benefits and how to execute, let's just paint this out here. What are some benefits for your business to run a contactless picture day? Jeff, I'm gonna fire that one to Jeff.
So again, the benefit for us is to reassure the administrators that we can do picture day in a safe manner. The benefit to the school is the fact that we can go back to handling all things picture if they just either give us emails or will do some emailing for us. We can turn that into a program that's pretty low hassle for them if they're willing to do that. And then with our expertise, we're willing them to help devise ways to do picture day, to observe social distancing as we go into the fall, and really counsel them through that process. So I think ultimately, and the bottom line and what we keep selling is the fact that we're going to be able to provide them their ID cards and their images for their administrative systems, which are security issues for them. Because if I strictly make it about the opportunity for mom and dad to get pictures, that may not be interesting enough for them to want to conduct a fall picture day and risk what could happen by, all the touch points that there are in fall picture day.
Hey, Sean,
Yeah.
Jeff just said something that is a game changer, and I think I understand what he's doing. Obviously, Jeff, we have a lot of privacy issues today with schools. But if there is a time that a school administrator may be more liberal with that email information that he has in the past, did you say you are going to push to ask for that email so that you can try to have that so you can engage your parents?
Yes, we're going to ask for it. That doesn't mean we're going to get it because of privacy concerns. And frankly, we talk to lots of parents, and stay tuned, because the biggest company in the business who's demanded emails, their direct-to-consumer company, and I don't want to mention any company names here, but right within their business model, they said they're going to make money off of selling those emails to other companies. So what we're going to assure the administrators is that if you give us the emails, they're only going to be used by us. They're only for the purposes of making and creating an awareness of picture day and sending out secure passwords as a follow-up for parents to look at images, and that we aren't going to sell them to anybody else. So, the other side of that coin is if they say, no, we can't do that, then we're going to say, okay, well, then one of the things we'll need you to do is to do a broadcast email from your system of this information. And almost all schools can do broadcast emails now out of their school information systems. So it'll probably be one or the other. Again, the school will determine what level we get to do that at.
I just want to comment, I think that's a game changer, folks. I think where you've not had that kind of access before, by asking the question, you may get some administrators who understand your predicament and are willing to do that. And I think Jeff's hitting it right on the head. So that's something I'd consider going into this year.
One of the things that we put together is, and our sports brethren have been a whole lot smarter at this than the school guys have been. You know, there's some sports photographers that are asking students or athletes and parents to go and pre-register their child for picture day. We're looking at putting together some verbiage around that for the school to say, hey, we recommend that you have your students pre-register, even though we're going to photograph everybody. And the result of that is that the parents will voluntarily either give you the email or opt out of their email address at that point in time. So we're going to try to make that approach to the schools also.
Thank you, Jeff.
So Jeff, I don't know if you've had this conversation, because I've had this quite a lot. Frankly, is just the general thankfulness that this happened now with the technology we have today to combat the COVID effects, right? Trying to think about, what would have this looked like 5, 10, 15 years ago had this pandemic come at that point. That I think would be a completely different situation. So with that, what I'm leading to is at H&H, technology is important to us. We are a lab, but we're more than that. We also invest heavily in technology to make photographers' lives easier, to save them time and grow their businesses. With that plan that you so graciously shared with us before, and we don't have time to get into all those details now, can you list off what are some of the technology pieces and tools that you're going to be using this fall to execute your contactless picture day plan?
Remember that, we're photographing 80,000 kids in the fall, and so probably 65, sorry, my math's off, that's fall and spring, probably 65,000 in fall. And, I couldn't imagine trying to pull this off with, doing business with somebody other than H&H. And the reason being is all the systems that H&H has are integrated and made to run together. So we can go out to HH Image Host and do the prepay sale, and it's going to generate an order file and everything that we need, so that when we actually do pictures and bring it into the workflow software and work out of that workflow software with, time sync match in the school, the import of the data from the prepay information is going to automatically populate package and everything else that we need. And then H&H has introduced Magic Crop, which is an auto head sizing and cropping feature to the software. So in essence, cropping time is when I saw it run at SPAC, I think cropping time on a school is going to be like 10, 15, 20 minutes compared to the hours that we used to spend cropping. And then with the ship to home, again, with the integration out of things in the prepay or the proof, export system, it's just the technology is so tight and married together between the economies of scale and growing the business and the labor reductions and the seamlessness. I just can't imagine trying to pull this off any other way, because you don't want to have to hop in between. I'm selling my stuff over here and I'm bringing it into this workflow software over here, and then I got to take it and put it into this lab ordering software over here, and then I got to take it and upload it for second sale over here. That's all seamless and integrated with what H&H has to offer. And when you're dealing in the volume of schools that we're dealing with, that's really key to our success of our organization.
Yeah, thank you for that. Jason, you're a really smart guy, and I can tell you really thought through a lot of this, and some of it may just be practical sense, but I'm also thinking about what are the other companies out there doing. Specifically, what do you think some of the big national franchise companies are doing to prepare for this fall?
Obviously I don't have any direct, like I'm not inside those companies.
Right.
But I do know that turning the Titanic around takes a lot of time. And I think that for those of us who are smaller in the industry, I mean, even at the size that Jeff's at, he has a lot more ability to shift and come up with new systems and new procedures. I mean, 22 people, he can train them in have a meeting, and in one day he can retrain his staff into doing some things. My crew's much smaller. I've got about 5. We can retrain our staff very quickly and assure our administrators that we can make the changes needed. And the rest of the guys that are out there, I'm competing with a semi-local company, but they're a significant size. I got a company out of North Carolina that I compete with, again, significant size. These guys probably have, 500, 600 schools. It's going to be a lot harder for them to shift. I'm happy with the size that the company's at, because I feel like this is such a major turn that the big companies are going to have a tough time keeping up with the little companies and feeling sure that their photo day is going to be safe. So that's really my main comment. I just know when you've got a large corporation, it's very hard to redirect that corporation in a different way. And when you talk about technology, I mean, they can't shift that. It takes years to get that done. One example is the yearbook industry. I don't know how familiar you guys are with that, but every HTML5, everything's got to be to HTML5 by the end of this year. And so the large companies are scrambling, and those of us who are handling yearbooks on a smaller end, we were already there. That's just one example of where large company loses to the small company. So I know this wasn't directly your question, but I think we have a huge opportunity as small companies to step in right now and make this to our advantage and not to our disadvantage.
Amen.
Of our flexibility.
You're absolutely right.
So Jeff, how would you respond to what Jason's saying? Like, how would you respond to any claims that large companies are making, or the plans that they're trying to execute?
Well, I think it's actually, and Jason, I think, was spot on with saying that we're flexible and we can respond. We are going well out of our way to communicate to all of our existing customers and potential new customers that we have a plan in place that we can execute on. We're also displaying to them that, we are delivering yearbooks. All of our customers that finish their yearbooks on time, all of them have gotten yearbook delivery this year. The 2 big national companies, right now, they're sending out letters to people stating they're not only not going to get yearbook delivery, they're not sure when this summer they're going to get yearbook delivery. So by us being able to demonstrate that, we have this knowledge, we can do picture day, here are some things that you want to consider whether you're doing business with us or not in conducting a safer picture day in the fall. And oh, by the way, we've delivered yearbooks, and if there's any way that we can help you, let us know. We're just trying to get the jump and get the word out right now before the big companies get out and start convincing people that, we're the only guys that can do this. And I think the key is timing and being proactive, and then having a well thought out process that you can put in front of somebody to show them that, yes, you've considered all these things, and here's how you can help them solve their issue.
Yes. Yeah, I can't agree more. Jason, I'm seeing for those companies that are getting to open back up now, that are getting to shoot this summer even, I'm seeing, let's just even take this beyond the photography industry. I'm seeing companies all across the country lower their prices in order to drive more business in. Is that something that you're considering this fall?
No, we'll probably go the other direction. We're probably looking at
There you go.
a little bit of a price bump. Here, actually, I was on the phone 2 days ago with a principal, and she said this. It wasn't even me saying this, but I agree with her. She said that she saw 2 things happening this fall. Number one is that kids and parents alike are going to value the educational system at a higher level because it got taken away. And second, they're going to value images at a higher level because it got taken away. Now it got taken away from select groups. Like I picked up, Jeff, I don't know where you're at with this. I picked up a few of my spring photos, and then we missed almost all of our spring sports. I think I only slid one spring sports season in that made it. But those kids, one high school in particular, their track team didn't get photos, but everybody else did because the track team had to be rescheduled because of some glitch. I'm not sure what happened. And they're upset. So when you look at that, the value's actually gone up for what we're doing, not down. And so our prices we had already anticipated a little bit of a bump because of my model of doing ship to home. We knew we were going up $1 or so a sheet. And so that was already in play. As far as my portrait side, if I'll jump over there for 2 seconds.
Sure.
We have always played with our session fees. Nothing else ever changes. So my price for a 16 by 20 is my price for a 16 by 20. It does not change. Session fees, I've always played with. I will continue to play with. We did no session fees for 2020 seniors. Still maintained our prices and still maintained our averages. The session fee just went away for them. And we saw a ton of business come in as a result of that. But as far as schools and volumes concerned, there will be no change for us outside of we are seeing that price bump of $1 or so a unit going up just because of the way that we've structured our fall season.
Yeah, Jason, I can't agree more. I think you're absolutely right that now more than ever, families value their family more than they did prior to this event. Like it has completely changed what certain folks value as what is important to them. And I would say, and I would agree with you in saying, I think this is what you're heading at, is that our families are important to us, and capturing these memories and these times with each other is important. And that's what photography is great for. So while that may not be enough of a message to get the school administrators on board, I think it's absolutely enough of a message that the parents need to hear as you are photographing and selling to them this fall.
Right.
Jeff, why would anyone want to do a contactless picture day? Can I even just ask that question?
Well, I think I mentioned it before, but it really is a way to ensure that the school administrators are confident enough to conduct picture day in the fall. I'm afraid if we can't reinforce their confidence, we may not have a fall picture day. We may have fall pictures in January. So that's my first reason. Secondly, if we can get people to embrace this, it's going to create some economies of scale and cut costs for us, and pretty much cut staffing, because we're at a point where we won't be sending posers, because you can't have that level of contact. We'll probably be reducing paperwork people. So we'll be looking at the ability to reduce staff. And frankly, we'll have the ability to drive economies of scale into our data entry and ordering systems here in the office. So again, we can drive more revenue out of what the way we conduct picture day. And like Jason, we're going to be increasing costs for mailing. So we're going to be adding $4 per family for mailing to picture day. And we're increasing our pricing on our 3 most popular packages, because those constitute about 70% of what we sell. So we're going to increase prices on those, and maybe not on some others. But that's going to be our pricing strategy for going into fall of this year.
Jason, I was looking at your website before our conference here, and I just have to say your website is beautiful. It's absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
What importance do you place on visuals in a time like this?
It's pretty high priority on at a time, anytime. We're constantly looking at the marketing material that we're putting it out and making sure that it stays current. I think a lot of, matter of fact, we're guilty of this actually. We do on my portrait. So for those of you who don't know this, I own two companies. I own Elite Photography, which is a portrait side, and Icon School Portraits, which is the volume side. We're guilty of this. I think a lot of times as photographers, especially in the volume industry, we let those visuals, we're still using the same order form we used 20 years ago. We forget to take a hard look at that. And we're actually guilty. We realize we haven't updated one of our forms on the Elite side where we do cheerleading gyms. We haven't updated it in 5 years. And it looks terrible, but we've been staring at it for 5 years and didn't realize it. And we have a meeting coming up, I think next week, to redo that entire form. So I think it says a lot about who you are and about, we're a visual business. So visual is important. This is about images. So like on my, on iconschoolportraits.com, you're going to see large portraits of children. That's what we emphasize. And so, yes, I think it's critical. I think it's critical that we look at our marketing pieces that are going home in an increasingly digital age. I think those pieces have to be really good, especially this year. You know, looking at the PDF, they've got a PDF that goes home has to catch their attention. And so it needs to be extremely visual. And I'm going to say one other thing, purpose-driven. So you gotta figure out what you want someone to do and design your marketing pieces based on what you want them to do. I went through a thing called StoryBrand. Welcome to look that up. StoryBrand is just kind of tells you how to visually get your people to act, and it's very purpose-driven is the best term I can go. Like on our website, what do you want people to do? And the main thing we want people to do is to find their photos and order them. So that's a priority on our website. So same thing with our visuals.
Yeah, no, I love that you brought up StoryBrand by Delma Miller. Actually, that book changed how I thought about marketing.
Yeah.
It was really effective. I actually just finished his other book, Marketing Made Simple, the one that just came out. It's a good one. I think you'd like it. So we talked about visuals and the importance of the effectiveness in marketing. And finding a purpose of, what is the purpose of this marketing piece? Can you share any practical marketing tips or tactics with this group on how they can achieve those things this fall?
I'll tell you my strategy as a small company, like what we've done. We determined that we were going to go after the higher end clients because I wanted to take away my competitors' best clients. So if I don't understand a whole lot about the market, but I'll tell you this, I know that there are some schools that are not making money, but the big guys have to take them because they've got like a whole school district. So what we've done is we've targeted, I've got schools, I've got one school that's pushing, I think 35,000 is our gross revenue out of that school. And I know that's one of the top producing schools in the area. And I picked up private schools and higher end elementary schools. Middle schools suck. Just being blunt with you, that's one of the worst things that I could ever do. We have one. I do it because I'm being nice, which probably isn't the best business decision, but it's a Norfolk school, and our Norfolk schools are kind of a focus for us right now. So we've been very strategic about what clients we brought on and what clients we targeted. Knowing that market and what you want to target, you sit down and go, I'll throw another book out. Traction is what's driving my company right now. If you haven't read that book, you should read it no matter what stage of business you're in. Our target market became very, very clear to us. We wanted elementary and high schools. We have no interest in middle schools. And specifically, I wanted the private schools because those are the ones that have produced our highest average sale and our highest participation rate. Going after those schools has a two-part effect. One, it takes away the highly profitable schools from my competitors and leaves them to carry the low producing schools, and it produces more for my company. So that's really been our marketing target. I'm right now, I'm only taking on 2 or 3 more schools for the fall. I got a contact today, and I know I'm not interested in that school. I'm not going to pursue it. I'm not going to call them because it's going to be a weight on us. It's going to produce maybe 1,500 net revenue. And I can't spend a whole year on a school for 1,500 net revenue being a small company. So that's really, I guess, if I've got a marketing tip, it's know what your target is and go after that target and don't vary from it. stick to it.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I love hearing your book recommendations, Jason. Every time you recommended it, you were absolutely right. And I ate it up. So thanks for sharing those.
Welcome.
Jeff, you are probably one of the most business savvy, smartest school photography guys in the industry that I've ever met. And you're very methodical, and you're always thinking down the road. And we know that COVID has ruined our short-term plans at the very least. But let's talk long-term, man. How does this change your 3-year plan, your 5-year plan?
I think it's too early to tell. We just need to see what the bounce back is going to be like. Because we have an industry based on traditions. And as Jason said, the great thing is you have some high school teams that, because some didn't get photographed and some did, there's desire for our product. And I still believe there's desire for our product. The question is if we don't get the opportunity to go back this fall, are we going to break that tradition of that cycle of tradition that we've always had? So I guess, we'll have to see what the market gives us. I know that, like Jason, we've changed our marketing on our flyer designs, because we still have to design electronic flyer, even if we're going to print paper too, but with a take time to make a memory, your family is precious. Try to start working on those appeals. But it's just a time will tell. I mean, we have a business plan. I have a business plan based on growing by X number of schools every year. So we're just continuing to execute on that and try to seek the opportunities that are presented to us to talk to schools and show them that we're a better choice. We don't want to do business with everybody. Like Jason, we out of the 130 schools, I have one high school and a couple of middle schools, and the rest of ours are elementary. We like that market, so we're going to continue to pursue that market and see what we can do. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. I guess only God knows what's going to happen 5 years from now.
Well, that's true. That's the truth. Jason, let's start getting a little reflective here, man. This may be a little early in the day for this, but what lessons have you learned from your time in quarantine?
So I'm going to speak kind of out of both sides of the business, the portrait side and the school side here. I initially, when all of this hit, I think when the first 2-week stay home stuff hit, I kind of just went, okay, well, we've got some cleanup to do with the studio anyway, not a big deal. We'll do some equipment repair. We'll get some kits together and clean the studio, change up some portraits. And then we got the longer extended version here in Virginia. And I kind of went home that day and went, I guess there's nothing I can do. And I don't know why, because that's not my nature to think that way at all. And I got on the phone with my one of my office managers, and then with our legal advice at one of our attorneys, and we kind of revised our plan and went, okay, heck no, we're going to go harder than we've ever gone. That's what we're going to do. And so we kind of said, all right, here's what we can do. We can fix systems. We can market and position ourselves for coming out of this. And so the two things that we did more than anything else was cleaned up all of our systems. And then we went after, on a marketing term, we started building new relationships with people, either through email or through phone or whatever we could, to try to position ourselves when this thing ends to be able to accelerate quickly. We did this more on the portrait side than anywhere. We've been building email funnels and doing that type of marketing on that side. Our social media influence grew. And then with our schools, we just kept reaching out and asking, what can we do? How can we partner with you? And I'll give you an example of how that produced, with me not sitting back and saying, oh, woe is me, I can't do anything. We went into one of the schools, and this is one I was talking about we've got coming up. How can we partner with you? And they said, okay, here's what we'd like to do. we'd like to do a sheet for every single senior, which is like $16 a kid times 120, I think. But we're also letting you photograph their families. We're going to give you 5 minutes. So our plan now, because we pursued this school and said, what can we do? What can we do? How can we partner? We're probably going to see a $10,000 day come out of this because they value this more because it got taken away. And then we're going to be able to photograph the family, the kid, and then family groupings. I'm going to have like 10 shots out of every one that come out of this that they can order from. So I think the biggest thing I learned, back to your question, is don't quit, just find a new way. There's always something we can be doing to develop our business and position ourselves. And that's what we've done. I think this is going to be our best year on the books in history. That's kind of our attitude and where we're coming from.
Thank you. Thanks for that. That's a great attitude. I think as we all struggle to think through and process everything that's happened over the past couple of months, whether it's affected us directly or indirectly on multiple levels, it's kind of hard to have a good attitude or a productive attitude. So I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Yep.
Jeff, I'm gonna ask you a question because someone asked me this privately in the chat. Again, guys, if you have questions, share those in the chat room. And we'll try and bring those up and bring those into the conversation here. But this one was private, so I'm not going to say who said it, but I do think it's a great point here is in sports photography, a lot of photographers are looking at doing virtual groups or, extractions and building out these virtual teams. School photography, while we think of school photography as mostly head and shoulder, traditional fall or 3/4 length, there is an element of classroom group photography, right? So what is your plan for classroom group photos for this upcoming school year?
Well, again, there's a lot of things we can do, and we're going to put options on the table for our school customers and let them make the decision. But one option could be to create a composite for classes as opposed to doing a school group. The other thing that we have been doing for a number of years is that we've been photographing using now Masters Extraction, previously Blue Screen, and we photograph all of our students approximately a little bit longer than half length because we want to be able to repurpose and resell those images at multiple times a year, which, by the way, we did do here and generated a nice little piece of change at the end of the year here. Yep. From sold remarketed images. But we'll be able to take those images and build a virtual classroom group, not only for sales in the classroom, but the other question is, okay, so what happens if we get to a point because of social distancing requirements where we're not going to be able to photograph the book club and those various clubs in the school? By photographing the way we're photographing, if we need to, we can build virtual groups and put those in the yearbook. So that's our tentative plan right now.
Thank you. As we're starting to get to that last little bit of time here, so I'm going to move on. Jeff, what do you think is the most important factor that will determine your success for the rest of this upcoming school year?
I think the most impactful factor for us will be how proactive we're going to be. I think the more proactive we are and the more information we can get in the hands of all the decision makers and potential new customers, the better off we're going to be. Like Jason, short term, we did yard signs and we're doing banners and all kinds of different things to drive some revenue. I mentioned the ability to remarket our images. And I think the other thing is just to look at our business and similar to Jason, look at our processes, clean those up, and just kind of I took the opportunity to make it a fresh start. And everything went on the table in our organization. So that's kind of where we are. And I think that's been pretty beneficial for us. When you're in a volume business and you're of any scale, when the fire hose gets turned on, it's hard to step back and do the things that would probably benefit your organization. And I think this is the perfect time to do that. And, if necessary, rebrand, remarket, reposition, rethink thought processes, workflow processes, going forward to better position you to come out even bigger and stronger than you are now.
Hmm. Wow. Jason, let's talk about portrait photography as a whole. With everything that's going on, do you think that it's still important to families across America?
Yeah, I think it's, again, I think the importance has been elevated, not diminished. And that's where we're targeting. I guess all of our marketing goes to that foundational thought, is that it's more important now. Family is more important now. You know, anytime you've got loss of life, it reminds you of the brevity of life and what is important to you. And so I think family has probably been elevated, not diminished in the process. And I think that properly positioning yourself, like I said before, and coming out of this with the attitude that we're ready to roll is going to be critical to the portrait side of things as well. You know, we've already done a few handful of family sessions, safely. You know, those are easy to do in the front yard, backyard, within context. We've done some of those. The interest in senior photography has grown. If anything, this year, the 2020 kids have exploded. And parents have been desperate to do something to, I guess, take care of those kids. I've specifically had some of our portrait clients that are spending, $1,500 to $2,500 say, I wouldn't have done this, but her senior year got wrecked. And so I wanted to do something special for her. So we've seen a rise in interest, not a decline.
I love that. I love hearing that. Jeff, I mean, I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and I think it was actually Oprah Winfrey that said this, that failure is she loves failure because it's an opportunity for change. And funny enough, in our 50th year at H&H, with this being our 50th year, we wanted to take a moment and talk about how all success is driven from overcoming failure. So we called this year Success Through Failure. So I don't want to say that this spring was a failure, but I definitely want to say there was a lot of adversity that came into that. And so with that, I think this is also a great opportunity to spark change. How do you hope for change in the volume photography industry? What do you hope will come out of this in light of all the things that we're having to change in order to do business?
Well, I think on our organizational level with our customers, I think the things that we did to help them complete the school year and get yearbooks done and delivered in a timely manner, it revolved around service. And hopefully service will come back to the forefront of our business as these other large companies have failed at deliveries of various different types and aren't going to be able to staff, graduations when they happen because they're, as Jason mentioned earlier, they can't turn on a dime. Their staff has been furloughed. Now, how are we going to get people to cover events? But, the volume school business has been pivoting to an area of schools not being overly loyal. The big company comes along because they're trying to, let's face it, buy business back because they've been stung pretty hard. So they're writing checks in some cases that are, or promising checks that are pretty big. I think we're going to see a change in that. I think we're going to see a change in the value of what we do as far as the value of the school picture based on just families and people that didn't order in fall that are ordering now. So I think there's some good changes coming. I think there's going to be some changes coming to the business model. I worry a lot about the changes that are going on in our industry right now because I think change is being implemented by ease of workflow and companies that are trying to push that direction. And listen, if the school picture business was easy, everybody would be in it, but it's not easy. And can people make it easier? Yes. But do you make it so easy to the point of where it destroys the heart of the business model? I think we're kind of creeping towards that precipice if we're not careful. So I think there's just a lot of things that people need to look at when they start looking at changing their business model and doing business in a different way. So I'm hoping we have more conversations, candid conversations about that within our industry, rather than just embracing the technology of the moment and just running off the edge of the cliff and not really thinking about how that's going to impact our business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't agree more. I actually came up a little bit yesterday in yesterday's conversation in the booth, if you weren't here, if any of y'all weren't here, where we talked about, what are the potential mistakes that could, ruin your fall or disrupt, make your fall worse. And one of those was, wholeheartedly adopting massive changes to your program. And the reason why they brought that up was because there's going to be a expected amount of change we're going to have to go through this fall, and an understanding that some of those plans aren't going to work, and we're going to have to pivot, and we're going to have to make adjustments, and we'd rather use our mental calories and our attention on fixing those problems instead of trying to teach a whole new workflow on top of fixing those additional problems. So I bring that up because I think that you're absolutely right. I think being convenient as a photographer, a workflow as a convenient photographer, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help you in your business in the long run.
I think the other opportunity we're going to be presented is to become a valued partner with our customers, because there's really anything any company can do, we all can do, because we're all digitally enabled. My role when I talk to a customer or a potential customer is that, what I'm here to do is to educate you on anything you could think you could want to talk about relating to volume photography. And because I've seen, there's not a lot that surprises me. I've seen a lot in 40 some years, and I can tell you the pluses and minuses of each one of them. But ultimately, you're going to decide how you want us to serve your schools. And that in and of itself is a fundamental difference from what the big companies are approaching schools with.
Yeah, there's massive opportunity there. Massive opportunity there. As we move into our closing questions in our final minutes, I just want to remind you all, if you have any questions for Jason or Jeff, please put those in the chat on this side over here. If you're using that desktop app, if you're using your phone, I forget where that's at, so you're kind of on your own there. But if you have any questions, put those in there, and our team's monitoring those, so we'll make sure to ask those questions to those guys for you. Also want to remind everyone that stopped by and has given us your email. I thank you for that. We're going to not abuse that. We're not selling that to anyone else. I want to send you a free gift. I want to send you a PDF of a plan or a thought starter for a contactless picture day plan. Now, this is a PDF that we've put together that, quite frankly, is inspired by a lot of the talking points that Jeff and Jason have presented here today. So we'll send that to you via email. Plus, also for stopping by, you're going to get an email from me for an opportunity to sign up for a 30-minute one-on-one consultation with me to run a checkup on your fall contactless picture day plan. If you want to have some one-on-one time to bounce that off, we'd love to help you with that. But let's move into these last few questions here. Jason, with having all that time at a home, or in your case, half a home, as you were telling me before, you've had a lot of time to reflect, man. So is there something you wish you would do differently in your business, or do you think that, if earlier on in your business, you wish that you had done differently?
Well, not to do the blatant promotion thing, but yeah, I mean, the first year of business, I wish that we had partnered with H&H instead of going with a company that didn't have experience in volume work. That hurt us in a number of ways. We would probably be closer to 20-25 schools right now if we had done that right the first time out. It was that was a painful experience. It cost me relationships. It cost me money. It really that was a tough pill to swallow in that first year, going with a company. And we'll just say a company that didn't have experience helping other people be successful in the volume industry. That was a mistake. And so anybody who's here, who's new to the volume industry or thinking about going into schools, do not partner with a lab that doesn't have experience in schools, no matter what story they tell you. And they may firmly believe what they're telling you. Go with somebody that's got experience, and I would recommend that's H&H. So, and Sean, you can write the check to Jason Williams. Yeah.
Hey, I'll split all of my commission with you. How about
Okay,
that?
deal. And then I will throw this one out there. The one thing, so I owned a portrait company that did some volume work, and then I launched a volume company in addition to that. And in our discussions, we were very we were very optimistic and said, well, my current office manager, this isn't that big a deal. You know, we've done some volume work before. She'll be fine to manage this. And instead of she'll be fine to manage this, I hired a full-time salaried position to manage that overhead. And I'll tell you why. It was because we took on high schools and private schools. The administrative load of high schools and private schools is, what do you want to go with there, Jeff? 10 times what an elementary school would be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you.
You're going to
And
spend
so-
80% of your time servicing 20% of your business.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that was a mistake. Now we've leveraged that now. We have systems in place. We're okay at this point to be able to manage those clients, but it cost me a lot of money up front. Jeff has done the right thing. If you want to measure us against each other here, Jeff had a lot more experience, did the right thing, and went with elementary schools. Elementary schools are, you go in, you're going to shoot fall portrait day, you're going to shoot makeup day, and you're out. I mean, that's pretty much it. And then in the spring, you're going to shoot class photos in spring with no makeup day. If his system's anything like mine is, that's a low yield, low workload deal. And so my question was, what would I have done differently? I would have done all elementary schools to start out, because it's that's the lowest administrative load. I could take on 5 times the number of elementary schools as I could private schools because of that. Now, you do make a lot more money on private schools. Like most of my private schools, I make at least 5 figures on seniors, senior tux and drape in my area of the country. But again, that admin load is the trade-off. And so if you're starting out, that would be my recommendation. Do what Jeff does, not what Jason does.
Yes. I do also have to plug out there. I still love going back and reading your blog that we posted on our sports website, sports.hhcollab.com. The title of his blog, if you guys didn't read this, was 5 mistakes I made when starting a school photography business. And I just love your humility in that. But also I just love the lessons in yourself. I think I'm just really thankful that you didn't at that point to say, you know, forget it. I'm not going to do school photography, but you looked at what the problems were, faced them head on, and figured out a way. So I'm really, really thankful for that. Also, where do we want to go from here? Okay, we just have 5 more minutes left, so let's do this. All right, Jeff, Jason and Jeff, you both, I want to thank you both for coming on here and sharing with us today. Not only did you do H&H a great service and sharing, and I think doing a lot of these sports photographers here a great deal in sharing how to run a contactless picture day, but also you guys are customers of H&H, and so I just want to say publicly thank you for your business. Thank you for the opportunity that we get to work together. And Jeff, I would be remiss if I didn't at least ask you this question. Is there any problems with H&H that we can help you solve?
Nothing that's not self-inflicted. But you know, we always kind of come up with some crazy needs or workflows or things, and the lab is good at responding. So so far things have been good. I honestly can't really complain. H&H has been a wonderful business partner over all the years, and it's the relationship we have with the lab and its ability to respond that have kept us long and loyal customers.
Mm. Well, the feeling is definitely mutual, Jeff. One of the benefits of working with you um, is that I get to see you at a lot of these trade shows. I don't know how we do it, but we convince you to fly across the country and join us in a lot of our school and sports conferences. And so you and I get to spend a lot of time together. And I just always feel like I'm a sponge, the grasshopper, trying to absorb as much knowledge and experience as you're willing to bless upon me. So thank you for that. And also thank you for your business. Let's close this up here, Jason. What's one piece of advice that you would give the sports photographers in this room?
I assume you mean if they're considering school photography?
Yeah, we can
Just in general.
I would say in general, but if we want to go to school photography, if we've
Yeah,
got
let me actually give you a segue into what I'm going to talk about in the next segment here with Sync Sports, and that is I really thought going from sports photography into school photography would be simple. There's one thing that doesn't make it simple, and that's the fact that you need an incredible amount of consistency in school photography that is not necessary in rec sports. And so if you want to hear more about that, listen to the talk that I give in the next segment. And I'll talk a little bit about those challenges and how H&H helped us to overcome some of those challenges, and just kind of the difference between rec sports and moving into schools, and how to handle that. So listen to the next segment. That's my advice.
As similar as they are not the same animal at all. I would say that there's some very big differences between school and sports photography. So yeah, if you are curious about school photography, or if you are dabbling in school photography, please go check out Jason's class right after this. And again, everyone who stopped by, I am going to send you that PDF on your contactless picture day plans, just so you can have that to work with and use that as a starting place. We know that as an independent photographer, as a entrepreneur, that you have to make plans that are right for your business and for your clientele, and that's not always a cookie cutter answer. We get that here at H&H. That's what we do. So when you signed up, I just got the question here, do you need your email now? No, when you signed up to enter into the room, we collected that email. We got your name and email address, so I'll just send it to that. So be looking for that. I'll send that out either tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, so you have that. And then if you have any questions, then just give us a call or reply back to that email, and it'll come to me and I can help answer those questions. Jeff, we've got 1 minute left, man. Anything you would like to share with this group? One last thing before we go.
I think if you're a sports guy or gal and not doing schools, I think you should investigate it. It's one of the best things that we've ever done for our business to cross promote our business. We do both sports and schools, and have a conversation with your business partner and make sure that you're picking a business partner that can support all the things you need to be competitive in the industry today. And the rest of it will kind of take care of itself.
Well said, sir. Well said. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Please come back and join us tomorrow, where we're going to talk a little bit more about some key aspects of growing a healthy sports photography business. My name is Sean Cantrell, and I would with H&H Color Lab, where we can help you save time and grow your business. Please stop by. Please give us a call or email us. We'd love to talk with you on how we can help you do those things. Thank you again, Jeff and Jason, for joining us. Hope you all have a great afternoon. Talk to you later.
Have a good day. Bye.